Cheers and salutations, all you hip, cool cats. My name is Kit, and welcome on and all to Chicago Reacts. Please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and hit that ring bell notification. That way all of you are made aware when we upload new content onto our YouTube channel. And today, we have ourselves a fun video to react to. Sorry for the stutter there. We have a fun video to react to, and it is titled, and it's from Major Kill, so please be sure to support his original YouTube channel. Why Rogal Dorn is completely incorruptible. Warhammer 40k lore. Well, as always, we here at Chicago Reacts are a pro-Imperium of Mankind channel. The Emperor always protects its loyal citizens, and his loyal citizens, to be more precise. And Rogal Dorn is one of those Primarchs that you know you could trust. And how could we ever forget the infamous Rogal Dorn from If the Emperor Had a Text-to-Speech Device, and his always stoic no. Again, one of my favorite episodes was the podcast where he finally met Helbrick, chapter master of the Black Templars. Anyways, that's a fun video, and I do miss If the Emperor Had a Text-to-Speech Device. R.I.P. R.I.P. But nonetheless, grab yourself a tasty snack and a tasty beverage, and let's find out why Rogal Dorn is completely incorruptible. And by the way, folks, we do have videos that people are sending us that we should react to and check out. And this is one of those videos. So shout out to all of you hip cool cats for making this happen. And so keep on being hip cool cats by supporting all of the original content creators that we react to, because it's the right thing to do, and the Emperor of Mankind approves. So since I'm in charge of the ones and twos, let's get ready to check out this video in a 3, a 2, a 1.
G'day, guys and gal. Everyone likes Rogal Dorn.
We all do.
Major, you are too kind.
Jesus Christ, how did you get in here?
Your fortifications are lacking, Major. I have already created a numbered list to help correct this.
My fortifications are...
That's awesome. I haven't heard that voice in a long time. So good to see you again, Rogal Dorn, and those beautiful mutton chops.
What doesn't matter. What does matter is that everyone loves Primarchs and everyone loves Rogal. Slap the two together and you get a recipe for success.
Success is not edible and cannot be formulated with a recipe.
Doing this again, are we? Rogal Dorn is godly enough to hold terror against overwhelming numbers and impossible odds, yet human enough that he sleeps with his grandfather's blanket every night. Throughout it all, one thing became clear. First and foremost, amongst his brothers, Rogal Dorn was completely and utterly incapable of falling to chaos. He is incorruptible to the point where the warp buckles and ceases in his presence. He can literally bend hell using his indomitable will.
Hell is not a material object. It cannot be bent.
Look.
You know, again, this is probably in their script, but they got that on point. I mean, after all, Rogal Dorn, he's one of those people that will tell you the harsh, brutal truth that you're not ready for.
Rogal, if people's sexual orientation can be bent, so can hell.
No.
Today we'll go over why Rogal is so incorruptible and indomitable, highlighting moments where he spat in Chaos's face and made them rule the day that the Praetorian of Terror was created. Let's get into it. Rogal was off to a good start, in the fact that he had a positive male role model when he grew up.
As he should.
Yes. My grandfather. A brilliant man who introduced me to fun activities, such as engineering and architecture.
Each to their own, I guess. As such, Rogal Dorn escaped the devastating affliction which was the main cause of Chaos's ability to lay so many Primarchs low. I am of course talking about daddy issues. Daddy issues create a hole in one's soul that cries to be filled out. For girls, this manifests as teen pregnancies. For guys, this manifests as becoming demon Primarchs. But I'm getting ahead of myself.
You know, even though it's been a couple of months, I could relate a little bit to Rogal Dorn. My grandfather was a very positive role model in my life. Unfortunately, he did pass away in February. So, you know, it's just one of those things that's very close. So I kind of forgot that in regards to the lore of Rogel Dorn. And speaking of which, let me go ahead and ask this to the viewing audience, because you know it's a rarity of when I get to react to Warhammer 40K content. What are your thoughts on some of the Primarchs and their relationships with their adoptive parents? What are the ones that stand out? I mean, I know we all know about Guilliman. He was raised by, dare I say it, the most stable of families. But, you know, there are the other Primarchs too. So, to the viewing audience, what kind of family dynamic really stood out the most? And yes, you can even include the Chaos Primarchs as well. Type in the comment section below.
Whilst Rogel did not have the magic of Magnus or the hide-and-seek skills of Corvus, he still had his own cheeky abilities, including not being able to lie and being wildly good at Lego building, with just some examples. Now, whilst these abilities seem comparatively shit compared to Sanguinius's wings or Conrad's foresight, they allowed him to tread a path that tore through deception and temptation. If you cannot lie to others, you cannot lie to yourself, and it was often the lies to oneself that allowed chaos to creep into their rectal orifice.
That is not how chaos corruption works. Only Slaanesh takes interest in one's posterior, and that is well after they have already fallen.
Dude, can I use any metaphor with you?
No.
Well, I'm
And you can't. Again, I'm so glad that the original voice actor is here.
going to keep doing it anyway for comedic value. The real test of one's ability to not pledge their soul to the forces of hell came when Horus unveiled the fact that he was a jealous douchebag, and he declared jihad on the Emperor. Some of the Primarchs passed this test with flying colours, such as the Lion, who genuinely made Chaos enter into an awkward silence when they read his soul and try to come up with something that might sway him, and others barely pass, like Sanguinius, who nearly allowed himself to get possessed by a fucking demon because maybe it would prevent his sons from becoming edgy space vampires. All of them had their test, all except Rogel. Chaos didn't even bother trying to turn Rogel to Chaos, as it would just be a waste of time and likely a waste of demon lives. As soon as news of Horus's tomfoolery emerged, Rogel immediately sprung into action, preparing loyalist defenses as well as counterattacks. He vowed he would see every single traitor dead or die trying.
Now, I know that in further lore, when Rogel first heard the news that Horus betrayed the Imperium and what happened at Istvan 5, or Istvan 3, Istvan 3, almost got jumped by the community on that one. He almost didn't believe it and was about to kill Nathaniel Garrow, who was formerly of the Death Watch, about the situation. So, I mean, again, that is something that should be pointed out, that Rogel at first didn't believe it and was willing to kill anyone that was going to be even thinking about sharing that information. And if you hear any explosions in the background, we're launching fireworks in my neighborhood. Hope all of you are safe.
There was no, oh man, but I really liked Lorgar. A, because Rogel is a hard motherfucker and sees the world in a very black and white way, and B, nobody likes Lorgar.
Well,
Nope.
It is true that Lorgar is indeed liked by nobody. My vision is incredibly good, and is not limited to only black and white. In fact, I can see far beyond the human spectrum.
Do you like building thick walls because they remind you of yourself?
I am not a...
You know what? Don't answer that. Another ability of Rogel's that began to manifest, which made the impossible task of turning him to chaos even more impossible-ier, because that's a word, was Rogel's aforementioned ability to bend and silence the warp. The dude's willpower is so legendary that the tide of thoughts and emotions that surrounds all living things is genuinely repelled by Rogel, hence trying to corrupt him via a chaos wound, like what Horus got, would likely do nothing as the warp stuff in the blade would recoil from his presence, and something like the layer blade would scream in pain from being in his grasp. Not that he would grab it in the first place, because he's not a retard, but you know what I mean.
Fulgrim's corruption by the layer blade was by far the dumbest of all my traitorous brother's falls, even including Mortarian's transfiguration into a smelly moth.
Okay, so Chaos can't lie to him or deceive him, and it can't corrupt him via wounds or artifacts. Can it make him join them from his own free will? Maybe by giving him a charismatic speech? Absolutely fucking not. The reason being that Rogel doesn't want to listen to bad guy monologues or have conversations with them. When he was fighting Alfarius, Alfarius kept trying to chat mid-battle and convince Rogel of his cause.
That was stupid of Alfarius. Or Omegon. Or Alfarius. Or Omegon. Or Alfarius. I mean, one of those two. I mean, that was pretty stupid that you're talking in the middle of battle. And plus, looking at that face of Rogel Dorn, he doesn't have time for your BS. I mean, let's be clear here on that.
But Rogel just ignored him, and when the opening presented itself, murdered the ever-living shit out of Alfarius in an extremely hectic Mortal Kombat-esque fatality. There was no goading or yelling as Alfarius lay dying, he literally killed the dude in under 2 seconds from when he began his finishing move. A similar situation emerged with Fulgrim. Fulgrim loves monologuing, and it only got worse when he got turned into a rapey snake. Yet when he fought Rogel, Rogel just kicked the shit out of him whilst remaining mostly silent. One of the only things he said was that he was really good at sword fighting, which you know is a good call considering he won the fight. Even when Fulgrim lied and was like, "Turn around and look, Dorn, the wall has fallen, you have lost," all Rogel replied with was,
No.
Even if Chaos got a word in, what would they say? "Hey man, we will let you build shit. Dorn already builds whatever he wants. Hey man, we love fisting. Dorn isn't into that kind of fisting. The one thing that Dorn wants, Chaos definitely can't give him. And that is to settle down and build wondrous works of art. Buildings that don't require reinforcement against missiles and cities that aren't made to withstand demonic invasions. Pure art for the betterment of humanity. Basically, Dorn wants a galaxy without war. As war is one of the pillars of Chaos, as well as the fact that Chaos's version of art is extremely questionable, they cannot provide Dorn with these things, hence there is absolutely nothing for him to gain. So what about his sons? The Imperial Fists? Do they fall to Chaos? Well, yeah, they have.
Yeah.
After all, there have been Ultramarines who have become Khornate Berserkers, so literally any Space Marine can fall.
Which is always disappointing when you see members of Loyalist chapters fall to those nefarious jagoffs in the warp.
This is foolishness, Major. My sons have never had any of their ranks fall to Chaos. Except that one time we don't talk about. Because it never happened.
I mean, it did happen, Rogel, and we're gonna talk about it.
I will end your life violently.
Yeah, get in line. Whilst the vast majority of Imperial Fists and their successors have never had a moment of heresy, especially the Black Templars who are literally weaponized autism incarnate, there has been an incident. No, I'm not talking about the Soul Drinkers because they technically aren't Imperial Fist successors, I'm talking about the Fists Exemplar.
Yes, and again, I actually was corrected by that as well, that the Soul Drinkers are not Rogel Dorn's sons, but in fact they might be somebody else's altogether. Now, I'm not too familiar with the lore, but I did have a friend mention it to me a while back. And so, can we get a little bit of a lore dump in regards to the Soul Drinkers? And if there's a video that we should react to in regards towards checking out the history of the Soul Drinkers, and if it's something all of you would like, please give us your feedback. Yes, we do read the comments in the comment section below, and we would like to know if that's something all of you hip cool cats would like to see.
The War of the Beast was a shit time for the Imperial Fists. The chapter was more or less destroyed, and they had their first little bit of heresy. Basically, the Fists Exemplar found themselves in contact with the Iron Warriors.
Oh.
And were obviously ready to bust a cap in their ass. Unfortunately, the Beast forces were coming, and if the Iron Warriors and Exemplars fought, then whoever won would easily get shat on by the Orcs. As such, they teamed up to beat the Orcs. From a practical
Bad idea. Bad idea.
standpoint, this is fair enough. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. However, when has Warhammer ever been practical? The Fist Exemplar were like, okay yeah, you guys are traitorous dogs, but out of honor, we will let you leave without violence. But then some Black Templars arrived, and they were really not cool about that arrangement. Now, I understand the Exemplar's point of view, but when you're dealing with the Templars, you either agree with them or you fight them. The Exemplars chose to fight the Templars and then escape with the Iron Warriors to become best friends forever. So they didn't fall to Chaos per se, or at least not initially. It also wasn't the entire chapter, more like 200 Marines or so. But upon hearing this, the chapter master of the Fist Exemplar, who wasn't there, was so embarrassed and furious that some of his sons would do this that he disbanded his chapter and destroyed all of their history. all their records and artifacts were destroyed, and the chapter master vowed to kill anyone who ever muttered his chapter's name in his presence. If anything, this kind of
Whoa.
weight to the Imperial Fist and by extension Rogal Dorn's claim to incorruptibility. Their only significant heresy was due to them being honourable, and instead of trying to salvage their chapter or restore their honour, their chapter master just pulled the plug, and made all of his staff redundant without pay. Whilst that might seem like a shit idea, and the chapter easily redeemable, it's a grey area that Chaos loves to grow in. Black and white is the bane of Chaos. Decisiveness is the bane of Chaos. Committing to one course of action is the bane of Chaos. Chaos likes chaos. It likes indecision and doubt. In their quest to redeem themselves, it's likely the Fist Exemplar would just open themselves up more to chaos. I mean, they had already been marked as heretical over their willingness to throw down with the Black Templars in order to protect the Iron Warriors.
And the last Space Marine chapter I would ever want to screw around with are the Black Templar. Do you have any idea how crazy those MFers are? The Black Templar, like, look, again, you know, we just managed to get a nice little sneak peek of them out through the great film that's still up on YouTube, and I have to say it's groundbreaking work. Hell's Reach. All right, we get an idea who the Black Templar are, and shout out to Grimeldus, the unbreakable, the unkillable Grimeldus. The Black Templar truly do believe in their military doctrine. They believe in their tactics. They believe in their chapter. They're the last group that you want to screw around with. Plus, they're not Codex compliant. They'll never be Codex compliant.
And now there would be a chapter of whiny fucks who are desperate to prove something. But that shit got shut down, so no worries, brother. Rogal's apparent death in the current setting.
I am not dead.
Apparent death.
Well, kind of technically now he is. Oh, that last episode, If the Emperor Had Texas speech device. I don't know if I could pull myself together to watch any more knowing how it will end, but I do know that we did react to a couple of those videos, so if that is something all of you hip cool cats would like us to continue on doing, give us your feedback, give us your thoughts. We would like to hear from all of you. Should we resume If the Emperor Had Texas speech device? Type in the comment section below.
Death was a tragedy, but the only way Chaos could ever hope to remove him from play. There was no blade, no spell, no word, nor no promise that could even momentarily make Dorn consider Chaos. After all, the warmth from a grandfather's blanket will always be greater than all the fires of hell. And that does us for today, guys. Huge thank you for Rogal for breaking into my house and waiting until the end of the video to bludgeon me to death for talking about the Fist Exemplar.
Your suffering will be legendary.
If you enjoyed the video and want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be.
Not a bad picture. Not a bad picture at all.
For only $1 per month, give you access to a boatload of Warhammer hentai. Hit the subscribe button, then hit the real subscribe button for more feisty content. Join the Discord for more memes, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
All right, shout out to Major Kill. Great video, especially in regards towards who Rogal Dorn is, and a little bit of humor and some lore information about the Primarch of the Imperial Fist and their successor chapters, why Rogal Dorn is completely incorruptible. And I have to say, what a treat it is to hear the voice actor who played Rogal Dorn in If the Emperor Had Texas speech device. I, like all of you, were surprised at his initial reveal. I wasn't expecting it. The cute Centaurian was just Rogal Dorn all along. He was always there. But what are your thoughts on Rogal Dorn? I know I asked earlier on the video which Primarch family or relations really stood out to you. And yes, you can include Chaos Primarchs as well. But which one really stood close to you that you could resonate with, or that you just found interesting, that really makes that Primarch unique in your perspective? But also, number two, what are your thoughts on Rogal Dorn? I know recently, obviously, well, it's not recent now, but Reboot Gilliman, he's back. Lord Commander of the Imperium, and now Lionel Johnson has returned as well. And from what I've read so far in regards to Lionel Johnson returning, he seems somewhat relieved and shocked that at least Reboot Gilliman is still around and kicking. So there you go. But what would your reaction be if, well, you found out that Rogel Dorn was alive? And how are they going to pull it off? Because if Rogel Dorn was alive this whole time, buddy, Dorn, where have you been at? Because it would be a serious disappointment if he truly was hiding in the Imperial Palace the whole time. I guess Games Workshop would be copying, pasting the work of If the Emperor Had Text-to-Speech Device. But nonetheless, what would be your thoughts if Rogel Dorn did return? Give us your feedback. Yes, we do read the comments in the comment section below. As always, keep your heads on a swivel, keep on winning, and stay resolute. The God Emperor of mankind protects, and the Imperium's Praetorian, Rogel Dorn, will lead the way, for he is truly unbreakable and incorruptible. Peace. Please support the original content creators. That link is in the description box below. I'll see all of you hip, cool cats on the flip side. Bye.